Hey, welcome to lesson number 7. So lesson 7 now is adding and subtracting fractions. So today, by the end of the day, I want you to be successfully able to add and subtract fractions. So what's the key? Well, here are some of the steps that'll help you, and I'm going to do a couple of examples to show each step. So for those who don't remember how to add and subtract fractions, first of all, you need to find a common denominator. So what's that mean? A number that both denominators will divide evenly. And I'll give you an example and a couple of examples to show how that works. Okay, so that's your first step. Second step is to find equivalent fractions. And finally, the third step, I want you to add or subtract, depending on the question, the numerators. So those are the steps we're going to go with. Okay, so I want you to find a common denominator first. I want you to find an equivalent fractions. Then I want you to add or subtract the numerators. So here we go. If I ask you to add or subtract, so in this case I'm going to go with 2/3 plus 3/5. All right, I'm going to work down. So we need to find a common denominator. So off to the side here, common denominator. What is the common denominator? So what will 3 and 5 both divide evenly? So I know that 5 will divide 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on evenly. Will any of those numbers divide by 3? 5 does not divide by 3. 10 does not divide by 3. Hey, 15 does. So 15 is our common denominator. So that means both of these fractions are going to have a denominator of 15. Step 2 is to find equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions. So that means that the 2/3 I have to make into something over 15. The 3/5, sorry, the 3/5 I have to make into something over 15. So what did I multiply 3 by to make it a 15? I multiplied by 5. Whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. So you multiply by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. The next one, 5 times what gives you 15? You got to multiply by 3. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 3 times 3 gives you 9. So my two equivalent fractions will be 6/15 and 9/15. All right. Next, you have to add the top. So 6 plus 9. I've done something incorrectly here. Oh, you know what I did wrong? Right here. You're probably, hopefully someone's saying, he's crazy, this guy. The first fraction, 3 times 5 on the bottom, 2 times 5 on top. It shouldn't be a 6, it should be a 10. There. Probably looking at each other thinking, who is this guy? He's nuts. He has no clue what he's doing. Okay, here we go. So then we would have 10/15. Step 3, add numerators. Quit laughing at me, Tony. Add numerators. All right. So that means that 10 plus 9 is 19 over 15. So there you go. We just added two fractions that had no common denominator. We did it in slow motion, so we can speed it up for the next example. So for example, let's do 2/7 plus 1/3. So off to the side, what you can do for yourself, you don't have to write out common denominator. Pick the biggest number. So let's look at the 7. So we have 7 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35. Okay. Do any of those divide by 3? So now we're looking at the other denominator. 7 does not divide by 3. 14 divided by 3? Not going to work. 21 divided by 3? There we go. That one works. So we know our common denominator is going to be 21. Step 2, equivalent fractions. 2/7 has to equal something over 21. And 1/3 has to equal something over 21. So I have to multiply by, in this case, I'm going to have 7 times 3. So that means I'll do that to the top. So 2 times 3 gives me 6. Hopefully I did it properly this time. The bottom one, 3 times 7 gives you 21. 1 times 7 gives you 7. So now you've just given me equivalent fractions. Third step, add the numerators. 6 plus 7 is 13. So your answer is 13 over 21. Okay. Do one more example down below here. Let's do 1/2 plus 2/9. So again, step 1, take your biggest number. So the biggest denominator is a 9. So 9 times 2 is 18, 27, 36. Which of these are divisible by 2? No. 18 divided by 2 is 9. That one works. So our common denominator is going to be 18. Now, equivalent fractions, so that's step 2. As you get better, you do not have to do this off to the side. Okay, you can actually do this, or just write down final answer as you go. Just trying to give you a process. When you look back, you'll know what you were doing. So I'm going to multiply by 9. Means that has to be multiplied by 9. So I get 9/18. 9 times 18, or sorry, 9 times 2 gives me 18. So 2 times 2 gives me 4. So my two equivalent fractions are 9/18 and 4/18. 9 plus 4 gives me 13 over 18. So there you go. There is your examples for adding and subtracting. Just subtract the numerators. I should have done a subtracting example. All right. I've just got adding or subtracting a couple more. So I'll show you your upper end, or this is your hard question. So what happens if I give you something like this? If I want to be really, really mean to you. 2/3 subtract 1/4 plus 3/2. All right. So does it become harder? Definitely not. A little bit more work. So step 1, what's the common denominator? Start with the biggest denominator. So I'm going to start with the 4. So counting by 4s, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Let's hope we find something before then. Take your next biggest. So now I'm going to look at the 3. So I'm going to mark in red which ones divide by 3. So 4 is out because it does not divide by 3. 8 does not work. 12 divides by 3. 16 does not. 20 does not. And 24 divides by 3. So now I'm going to come in with black and do the last denominator. So which one divides by 2? I only have 2 numbers to check. Does 12 divide by 2? Answer is yes. So there is our common denominator. It's a 12. Coming back here. You got to keep in mind, you're not going to do hundreds of these on a test. All right, so don't panic. And if it takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of time. It doesn't matter. So there's your 12. Step 2 is equivalent fractions. So I have 2/3. And it's got to be something over 12. I have 1/4. It's got to be something over 12. And I have 3/2, and it's got to be something over 12. So I'm going to say this fraction, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 4. because 3 times 4 is 12, 2 times 4 is 8. The next one, 4 times 3 is 12, so that means 1 times 3 is 3. And the last one, 2 times 6 is 12, so 3 times 6 is 18. So there are the 3 fractions I'm going to add. So 8 twelfths, 3 twelfths, and 18 twelfths. So now we just have to do the numerator. So I start with, it's multi-step. Like I said, you have a calculator if you're concerned. First thing I'm going to do is 8 take away 3. So 8 take away 3 would give me 5. And now I have to add 18. So 5 plus 18 is 23. So we end up with 23 over 12. Okay? So there's your upper end. That's your difficult question when it deals with more than 2 fractions. But it's the same process. So as I was mentioning over here, this, you need to do as much of this as you require. Okay? I recommend this strategy for finding your common denominator. Sometimes it's going to jump right out at you, and you're going to say, I know the common denominator is 15. And that's fine. Okay? What this is on the side is a strategy for you to show me that you know the process. And even if you get a wrong answer, you're still showing me that you know the process. Mistakes will happen. All right? Good luck with that, and we'll talk to you in a minute.